Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and we got another Marvel Superheroes Advanced Role-Playing Game System topical conversation about gadgeteering. Now, we learned about robots, we learned about vehicles, we learned about power suits, we learned about weapons. We're good, except, what about that miscellaneous stuff? All right, let's get right into this. Yeah, I don't do introductions. Hi, it's me. There's your introduction. So, getting right into this, there are lots of other things that were not touched. The four major things that they want to talk about in the game, what to build, okay, easy. But what if you want to build something that's not covered here, okay? What if you want to build, let's say, ammunition? Ammunition is a fun one, man. All you're going to do, you're going to look mainly at the effective cost and the damage that it would do. Okay, the effective cost, the material strength. You're going to look at the material strength and you're going to look at the damage that it would do, okay? Or the intensity of the attack that would happen afterwards. Case in point, knockout gas doesn't do damage, but it does have an intensity, right? So maybe you got some kind of a stunner, bullets that are mercy shots. They don't do any damage, but they'll release an anti-mutanogen in it so that people will, let's say they get poisoned or they just lose their powers, okay? All sorts of different things that you can do. All right, so you're going to look at those two main sources. Maybe it's a bullet that's actually meant to fire ridiculously long distances, in which case you're going to look at the distance, and the distance will wind up being a effective cost. And maybe speed. Speed on top of that will be a factor at this point, because how fast is it going to get to where you want it to go? So you just look at all sorts of things like that. But let's say you want to build something else like really crazy. And one of the things I thought to build is, let's build a house. All right, so we can look on page 56 for building a house, all right? And first off, really quick, let's just also jump over to, page 67 in the player's handbook? Page 68. No, yeah, page 67. Sorry, we're not there yet. So page 67, we're just going to look at, that's where it talks about building other things. And there'll be two big examples there, one for building a missile, one for developing a medical scanner, right? So building other things, they give you certain suggestions for other things that you could potentially do with it. One of the things they also do on the very next page, page 68, is they talk about other modifiers to effective cost. Now, this is important. Oh, look at that. There's actually a third thing here, a viewer to look at other dimensions. So this kind of sounds like the Runaways TV show on Hulu. So other modifiers to effective cost for miscellaneous items would be +2 column shift if the device cannot normally be seen. So if you got some kind of device that is hidden, camouflage, and I'm not just talking about camouflage like, you put some sticks on it or you put a Gila suit on top of it. No. Like, genuinely, it's designed that you should not be able to see. It's got some kind of cloaking device on it, all right? That's something entirely different. So +2 column shifts for that. And a whole bunch of +1 column shifts if the device is pocket-sized, even if the device is portable. And for those two, I would suggest that that's cumulative. So if the device is portable, like let's say it doesn't take 2 men to carry it, it just takes 1 man to carry it. And this would not be something like, like a hand drill or anything like that. No. If it's something that's ridiculously portable, then that's one thing. Like it's, so if you're going to miniaturize something, okay? So if you've got a laser cannon, incredible 40 strength laser cannon that you've made portable, like the size of a flashlight, okay, this is, I'm afraid this is going to be an extra column shift because that's ridiculous. So minimum effective cost is going to be amazing for something like that. Like, come on. So yeah, miniaturizing things, but then also pocket sizing something, that's like making something the size of a pen. So if you've got a laser cannon that's in here, you better watch it. My recommendation is make that cumulative. So it's portable and it's pocket size. So a Monstrous 75, so incredible cost laser cannon inside of my pen, pocket size and portable and pocket size. This would be Monstrous 75 cost minimum. Actually, probably cost more than that. But the idea is I would tear that player apart for that. But those are some of the things you do. And one other +1 column shift would be +1 column shift if it occupies more than one area. I'm going to add to that and suggest that that should be cumulative also. So +1 column shift per area that it takes. Now, we know that an area in general is 1 story up or 10 to 12 feet up, or it could be 44 feet in general. I think it's supposed to be like the length of a football field or the height of one floor to the next floor in a high rise or a skyscraper, whatever, all right? Duplex even. So that's going to be my recommendation right there, that this is cumulative. So again, one room, it could be anywhere from 10 feet also. It could just be 10 feet. So it depends on the size of the space that you're looking for. So be fair with it. Be fair with it, but look at it in general. Now, when we're talking about making an apartment, okay, or let's first off, just again, page 56, turn to page 56 in the player's handbook. Let's look at, let's say, a cottage, a 2-room cottage. Now, the cost is anywhere from poor to good, and mind you, this is to rent it. You want to rent it, it's poor. You want to buy it, it's good. So look, that's what that little slash means. You want to rent it, poor. You want to buy it, good. Okay, there are ways to buy cottages. There's ways to buy apartments. Back in the day, they used to be called condominiums. Now people actually sell their apartments, which is ridiculous to me, but I guess whatever, man. So you look at the size, okay, and then you can look at the material strength that's used. A cottage, poor. Yeah, that's probably if it's made out of sheetrock and stucco and 2x4s. But if you're going to use a log cabin, this would be a different story entirely. Now you're talking about probably at least good 10 material strength. All right, log cannons log cannon. It's my pen. It's my pen. But a log cabin could be extremely strong. At the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean the chance of breaking each individual log, but rather knocking down the apartment. So that could still stay at poor 4, but if you were able to use strong finishing nails or rods, tie rods and things like that, steel girders are going to work better than wood stacked on top of moss and caked with mud any day. So there you go. Even if you're going to use nails somehow. So the idea for me is, you just simply look at the size of the place. Okay, so you got 2 rooms. You could consider this 2 areas, but I wouldn't necessarily. This would make things a little bit different. What the rooms are supposed to mean for are how many packages you could buy. On the same page, 56, you can see living room package, dining room package, kitchen package, library, computer room, communications room, crime files room, all sorts of different rooms. And each one of these rooms, they'll tell you how much it takes, but the minimum cost means that it's going to occupy 1 room space, and they'll tell you if it's going to take more than 1 room space, depending on what upgrades you're going to buy for those packages. So that's what that means. What you rather have to do is look at the size of the place you're going to build. You're probably not going to build a house that's necessarily going to take 1 area straight, but it will take 1 area in general, one area squared. Yeah, guys, this is where it turns out algebra actually is going to be used. So if you look at 44 square feet as opposed to just 44 feet in a straight line, linear, all right, that would be about the size of one living space, not 1 room. You could have several room packages in there, probably 4, okay? So you just look at it that way. Because I'm going to get funky here, and let's say instead of just building a log cabin, let's build an apartment building. Oh yeah, you heard me say it. So what you're going to do is you're going to figure how many square feet is each floor. Okay, on average, it would probably be 2, depending on, whatever. It's going to have to obviously be a lot bigger, depending on how tall you're going to make it. But one of the things that I'm going to suggest is you're going to look at the material strength of the object in and of itself, and then you're going to look at how many areas each floor is going to take. And then each area that the floor takes, you're going to add +1 column shift. And then it's easy. So if, let's say you're going to do 2 areas for each floor, then it's going to be +2 column shifts to the effective cost per floor that you're going to have. So if you got each floor is 2 areas, and it's going to be a four-story building, so it's 4 areas up, 2 areas out, 2 areas on each floor, and 4 areas up. So very simple. This is going to be 16 areas it's going to take. So that means +16 column shifts. I know. You're thinking to yourself, what? That's impossible. Well, 1, yes, it is. Effective cost can't really go past incredible. Can't really go past Shift Z, can it? I've got my chart. Here we go. It can't actually go past Shift Z because you've got that. Let's do it down here. You've got that little thing there that will not allow you to go past it. So that's in both regards. You can't go past there. So you might be saying to yourself, dude, this is crazy. And you're right. It absolutely is. See, you've got to have fun with this. And my method may not be the best method. My purpose here is not to tell you how to do things, but how to get you started. So all I'm doing is I'm starting the conversation. So figure out a fun way that you can do something like this. So let's say per area that you're going to do, this would be an effective cost. But what's a way that you can maybe bring down this effective cost? Okay, one of the ways that you could do this is, here's something, check this out. Use your contacts. Okay, look, let's just use Donald Trump as an example. Love him, hate him, or just completely, I don't care. He's a regular old business guy. He doesn't have my best interest in heart. He's got his best interest in heart, just like every other businessman. I'm just going to look at it that way. You take somebody like Donald Trump, who loves making tall skyscrapers all the time. He's got a lot of money, hence he's able to do something like this. But for the most part, this is not about what do you call him just footing the whole bill himself. No, he's getting investors. So if you've got a corporation and you can start getting investors to help you out, now you're sharing the cost, okay? I know that the way that it works in resources, and we did this in the resources video, it's supposed to say something to the effect of, hey man, check this out. If you've got a, let's say you've got Incredible 40 resources, and you've got a friend who also has Incredible 40 resources, or within one rank, like Remarkable 30 resources. Now you can both together operate at Amazing resources. I personally think that if they're equal rank, you should be able to do +2 resources, but +2 column shift to your resources. But I understand if a judge says no to that, because that's pretty astronomical. Bumping up to monster 75 resources like that, that's kind of crazy. But if the judge says it's cool, like I say it's cool, baby. It's all gravy. So you can consider that. But I'm of the mindset that you can do multiple cumulative. So let's say you get 4 investors in this. If they're all within one column shift of your resources or of the person with the highest resources, you take that person with the highest resources, and if you got 4 other investors involved, then you're simply going to go +4 column shifts like that. That's one way you could choose to do this. Just remember, you're sharing the cost, you're also sharing the profits. You're also sharing the responsibility. And maybe you're not sharing the responsibility. What if somebody comes along and they're just like, yeah, I'm not going to cover my cost for this. Now you've got to worry about the legal battles of getting this person out, how to divvy up the property at that point, and just it's a huge headache. But it is also a way to increase your resources. So your resources go from from Incredible, boom, 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 up to Shift X like that. Get a loan from the bank, that's Shift Y. Now you're really close to that Shift Z, man. What else can you do for that Shift Z? How about instead of trying to build our resources up, let's try and bring that resources down. Now, one of the things that I recommended in the past, in the Gadgeteering videos or in the resource video or both, I don't remember, So the idea is buying in bulk. We all know that if we go to a warehouse club as opposed to a local, supermarket, or God forbid, an even more local convenience store, now we're talking about, hey man, check this out. We just, instead of buying a small, box of peanuts, we're going to buy an entire tub of peanuts, right? So there's less material involved in packaging. Therefore, they're able to justify bringing the cost down for the consumer, for the customer. So this being the case, if you were to buy in bulk, that may help out a lot. You could bring down the cost 1 column shift easily. That right there with your 4 investors, you're good. But let's make it so we don't need quite so many investors, shall we? What if you were to use, oh my God, here it comes, contacts? Guys, the main reason why I want to use Donald Trump is all of his, as he puts it, friends. In Marvel terms, we use it as contacts, okay? This guy's got contacts in trade unions, in labor unions, and in foreign markets, all right? This guy's got, and also with investors. Let's be realistic with investors. So we're able to look at this and say, what if we were to bring down the effective cost by hiring a trade union, okay, who would come in and bring in very skilled laborers, okay, people who know what they're doing, not just people who are coming in and just going to, you know, work all night and things like that. No. Let's do it this way. What if you were, so now you can have, so basically this would be a way of like getting a reduction in price. Instead of, you know, an astronomical amount, you can maybe bring down the price down as well. You're bringing down the reason fee for all that. You're bringing down a lot of things because, you know, these people, they know what they're doing. So the reason fee, why do you justify the reason fee going so high, Professor? Well, because you're building it up really high. And the higher you go, the more you got to combat winds and other, you know, torrential weather situations, earthquakes. You never know. You never know, okay? Just more areas to have to deal with. You're worried about the maintenance of your building. So you're going to have to try and bring down the cost of these things. And one of the ways is to have very skilled people doing this. So that's a labor union. What if you've got a trade union coming in also now? Now you're talking about, well, that would actually be the trade union. Now what if you're bringing in a labor union? Okay, now you're just bringing a whole bunch of you're throwing bodies at the situation. And that's something that's going to help also with the effective cost in regards to the time involved, right? All of this is going to help out, and it can help to bring down that effective cost. So if you're hiring a trade union in, boom, you're bringing down that cost, all right? You're going to hire expat workers to come in and work at a much reduced price where you don't have to pay for pension funds. You don't have to pay towards retirement or anything like that. You don't even have to pay, you don't even have to pay for, medical. It's like, oh, you got hurt? Okay, American Disability, situation says that you can go to a local hospital and you can get treated and you let the cost go to the tax users. Look, I don't appreciate this. And I also say these people should lose karma for doing this. Heck, you could, I've suggested before, go out and build a sweatshop, or rent a sweatshop in, like one of these foreign countries that allow, that they don't have unions themselves. So you allow them to go out and make sweatshops in their places. Okay, you should absolutely lose karma for this, but you're also going to be bringing down the effective cost, the time, how much money you're paying, and even the reasoning, because you're throwing bodies at the problem. So all of these, man, these are all ways to bring down the effective cost. What about if you've got a contact, not just in one of the different unions, what if you've got a contact in a lumber company? Imagine that. So you think about this, man. Superheroes just think about, I need a contact in the FBI so I can get weapons. Okay, but somebody like Donald Trump, they don't care about that. Clearly, Donald Trump does not have any contacts in the FBI. Sorry, that had to be said, okay? That's a funny joke. Just laugh. Just laugh and let it go. But he's got massive amounts of contacts in industries where he can do what he does, and that's build gigantic monstrosity of buildings with his name. Boom! Slapped right across the front. So that's where all of his contacts are spent. He's got a lot of contacts, okay? So what if you had a contact or two? What if you had two of your contacts competing, all right, for reduced prices? Now, well, I can bring down the cost of lumber. Well, I can bring down the cost of, rivets and steel for the girders and things like that. What about if you've got a contact in the shipping industry? Guys, I want you to really exhaust your contacts if this is the kind of character you want to build. If you want to have a Reed Richards style character, you're going to need a lot of contacts in places where they will help you to accomplish your main goals, which is building things. Forge really should have more contacts in places like this. He's more looking to get contacts in licensing. Reed Richards doesn't care about licensing. As a mutant, Forge has to care about the licensing. So, do you have a license for that robotic leg? So I want you to think about different ways that you can use your contacts to try and bring down the effective cost per column shift per contact, all right? That's what you need to be considering. All these different ways, okay? So that you can try and finagle your judge into saying, okay, fine, bring it down an extra column shift. I don't even care. All right? That's what you're trying to do. So consider that. On top of that, let's put, not just apartments. Let's say you're going to move this over now to, this is for a residential zoning. What if you're going to zone for commercial? Now, see, you're going to have to, the main thing important there is from going from residential buildings to office buildings is the material strength. That's the main thing there because everything else is essentially the same. Now, the reason why you got to increase the material strength is if you're zoned for commercial, or excuse me, for residential, what's the heaviest thing somebody's going to bring into an apartment for crying out loud? You know what I'm saying? Their record collection, a treadmill, you know what I'm saying? The stuff that's in their kitchen, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. So think about that. But what's the heaviest things that you're going to bring into an office building? How about multiple industrial-sized printing presses? What about filing cabinets stocked with good fireproof metal filing cabinets stocked with papers? What about the papers itself in the copy room? You know what I'm saying? Stacks, reams of paper. Dude, I'm telling you, it's a lot. It's a lot of weight, plus all the bodies that they're shoving in there. You know what I'm saying? Lab equipment, depending on, you know, what you're building in there. And then, so residential apartments, if you're zoned, if you're going to try and make a skyscraper or a building or whatever, and you're zoned for residential, my suggestion is a minimum of good material strength. Anything less, you're talking about you're making a roach motel, a slumlord kind of facility, all right? The material strength of your building is going to come down eventually anyway. So maybe it's just an older place. It was good in the beginning, but now, yeah, not so much, right? So if you're going to move up to commercial zoning, okay, now you're talking about an office building. You're going to have at least excellent material strength. Now, let's say you want to also do industrial. Industrial is very different. You're talking about at least remarkable material strength. Why? Because for crying out loud, automotive, you know, places, you know, saying places that are going to be doing massive manufacturing and assembly lines, robotic equipment and things like that, you're talking about a whole lot of weight on this building. Okay, so yes, minimum of remarkable. So consider all of these things. Now, let's move away from something like, you know, building a building. And one final thing to talk about, let's say we're going to talk about a little device, a medical device, okay? Let's say you want to make a little laser scalpel. Okay, you want to make a little laser scalpel? We actually already have things like that. You can just buy one. You want to make your own? Fine. Make your own. What's the material strength? Let's say it's going to be good 10 material strength. This is good to hold the components and things like that. You're dealing with, what do you call it? Very high focused laser, but we're going to make the laser only pour for intensity because you don't need it to be more than that. You know, it's going to be able to cut bone. It's going to be able to cut anything less than bone, like flesh, sinew, and just, you know, I'm getting freaked out. But queasiness aside, you're gonna what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the applicable, the highest applicable rank, and the only applicable rank is actually that good 10 material strength. Okay, if the laser itself is excellent, is going to be good 10 or typical 6. Now that's also going to be an applicable rank, and it's going to raise the effective cost. But if you keep it at poor 4, that's good enough, man. That's good enough. But it is also a superpower. It is also a power. So therefore, you're going to give +1 column shift to the final effective cost and make it excellent. Okay? So the final effective cost is going to be excellent 20. Mind you, that doesn't mean that you can say, oh, well, I'm going to bring up the laser to typical 6. No, because now you've made it an applicable rank. All right. If it's poor 4 or less, it stays not a non-applicable rank. But if you raise it to within 1 column shift of the major effective, the major effective cost, now you're talking, of the highest applicable rank. Jeez. Then now you're talking about bringing up the price. So just remember this, okay? Because it is a superpower, a laser is considered a superpower. But a laser is something that we actually have in the modern day. What if you're going to get silly and you're going to make something that we don't have in the modern day? Okay, what if you decide that you're going to make a teleporter? Okay, because look, let's say like Luke Cage, you're not going to make a laser. There's no way you can afford to make a laser that's going to cut through his body armor plus his regeneration. Okay, there's no way. Like that's ridiculous. You're talking about that kind of a cost. The housing, all sorts of crazy things that you want to do with something like this. No, instead, let's have some fun with this. And let's look at it this way. You want to make a little teleporter. So it's still good 10 material strength, but it's got a poor 4 teleporter on it and a little fishbowl on the back so that anything that it teleports inside just bloop. So if he gets shot, let's say season 1 of Luke Cage, he gets shot with a little, one of those hero killer bullets and it fragments inside of him and it's hurting him. I'm going to die. Okay, not a problem, dude. I got you, Luke. Just lay down. bite this little piece of leather for a couple moments, and I'm just going to start teleporting these fragments out of you. So I've got to be able to see the fragments, and I'm just going to start making sure. You should definitely be able to see what you're teleporting out. You don't want to teleport out his spleen, for crying out loud. You know, ooh, do you need that, Luke? So you're going to start teleporting out these little fragments of bullet. In order to do this, though, even though the cost itself is poor 4, you're talking about a power that does not exist in the modern day. So in the player's handbook, it's going to talk about things that don't exist in the 80s. Look, make this for the modern day, okay? Now, I know about quantum entanglement. I've studied physics. I'm actually an electrical engineer. As an electrical engineer, I do applicable sciences. Theoretical physicists do theoretical stuff. So look, all that R&D stuff is, I'm not going to just say it's great and all. No, it's amazing, and that's our future. But I'm not talking about our future. I'm talking about our present. So any things that Sheldon from, that show Big Bang Theory, okay, would think about, that's going to be considered a superpower, anything that we don't have in the modern day. But anything that, what is it, like Raj, or I don't actually watch the show. The one guy, he makes a space toilet. That's a modern day thing, man. So that's a modern day thing. That's something we can do today. So if it's a superpower that's just a regular old superpower that we can replicate today, hey man, that's not a big deal. Okay, but if you talk about something that we simply don't have in the modern day real world, that regular people don't have access to, so that it's not, so that you're actually making innovative work here, the minimum cost is going to be monstrous 75. So this is probably going to be your highest effective cost also, your highest applicable rank. Okay, so now this good 10, so you don't have to add +1 for a superpower now. You don't have to do that at this point. Maybe you do. I would look at it as you don't. But either way, no, actually you would. Shoot, you would. Oh, that just stinks to high holy. Anyways, you get the point. It's a superpower. You're adding a +1 column shift to it. And a +1 is a +1. Doesn't matter what it's +1ing to. It can be +1ing to itself. Yes. So you're talking about the a minimum of monstrous 75 on it. Now, why do I say minimum? Because the minimum bar is set at monstrous. You've got this poor 4, little teleporter there. You might as well make it incredible 40 at that point, right? But just whatever. It's poor. It's whatever it wants to be. And then up top here, what you got is, what if you want to make this thing at amazing 50 rank? Now you're looking at an amazing 50 power plus the minimum of monstrous 75 on it. Now you're competing with itself. All right. Plus you got a +1 column shift to it already. What if you want to make it at Nightcrawler's level of Shift X? You got this thing at Shift X ability. Now that monstrous, it just rises straight up to Shift X, right? So think about what you're doing. Be careful with what you're doing. If you're going to make something that is considered theoretical as opposed to applicable by today's standards, whatever today is, yeah, you got to consider that. If you're going to make this thing in the far-fetched future, like 50 years in the future, where we can assume that people teleport all the time, okay, that's a different story. As long as you go and you learn this or have an assistant who is familiar with teleportation technology, now it's not that minimum of monstrous 75 anymore. Now it's just a regular old power and depends on what rank you want it to be at. All right, so you got to consider those kinds of things, but definitely have fun with it. And there's different ways that you could do this, man. You could just, instead of doing a little teleport, you can make like a monstrous 75, like a diamond drill tip on the front of a Dremel hammer. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's all sorts of different things you could do to really have fun with the things you're going to do. So, guys, that's going to be it. What I want you to do is, look, ask questions in the comments section below. I will always, if I see a comment, if I get the notification that there's been a comment, I will check. And if there's a question, I will absolutely check the question. But aside from questions, what I'd really like to see, because this will help everybody in the community, I would like you to post ideas for things that you can do yourself. Little inventions that you'd like to make in the Marvel Superheroes Advanced role-playing system, okay? And just have some fun with it, man. Like, this is one of my favorite parts of the game, is just making stuff. I'll make things I don't even need. I bet you Reed Richards has a whole room of stuff that he doesn't need. He just didn't have anything else to do at the time. He already got his teleportation to the dimension shift to the negative zone stuff done. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's go and make the electronic hula hoop. Anyway, guys, hope to see you in the comments section below. And yes, I appreciate all of your comments, and I'm more than happy to do these kinds of videos. It's a great game. Looking to see more people playing it, especially if you're in like the greater Toronto area. Looking to get some people for a physical face-to-face game. Anyway, guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. You keep gaming. I've spoken. Class dismissed.
Thank you.